Talker. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. So we're talking about what's going on with this real estate market. What's going to happen now that, you know, a large bank, Silicon Valley Bank, has closed? Are more banks to follow? What does that mean for us economically? Is that going to impact interest rates? Well, it certainly has. We just don't know to what extent yet, right? It seemed like a sure thing that we weren't going to see, you know, a 25 basis point increase. We were likely we're going to see like a 50 basis point increase at the end of the month when they make their decision. But who knows? Maybe now they don't touch it at all. What I can say is the silver lining to what's happened is that interest rates actually have come down this week. They've come down almost half a point, you know, half a percentage point. So that has done a good job. And over the past several months, as we've seen fluctuations in the interest rate, when things go down, we see a nice little surge in sales. When they go up, things stop. So the market's extremely sensitive right now. And sellers are sensitive because they still want and will always want, right? This is just what sellers want. They want the most money possible. In fact, there was a survey that came out by Zillow. They surveyed a few thousand people that were first-time home sellers. And the sellers that took the survey, 84% of them were unsatisfied with their home sale and felt they could have sold their home for more money, which is really interesting. I think maybe part of that is unrealistic expectations. And by the way, these were the folks that had sold their home in, I want to say January. I'd have to look back at the survey, but I think it was January. And so they gave 4 reasons as to why they felt like they could have sold their home for more money, but ultimately didn't. The first one, interestingly enough, was pricing strategy. The majority of people that took this survey said they were unsatisfied with the home sale and felt they could have sold their home for more money. And the number one reason they gave was pricing strategy. They priced their home too high. Then they had to wait. Then they had to start a series of price reductions in order to find that kind of sweet spot where somebody would choose their home over the others that they were looking at, of which there were very few to choose from. And that's still the case. We still don't have a lot of inventory for sale. So for the folks that intentionally overprice their home with the, you know, that harmless thought of, well, we can always start here, and if it doesn't work, we can come down. These people that were surveyed admitted that they just shot themselves in the foot. They discouraged ready, willing, and able, educated, serious buyers from going to look at their house because they felt like the seller wasn't serious. The second reason they gave was curb appeal. And a lot of this has to do with the conversation that you have with your real estate agent, the game plan that you come up with to maximize the amount of money that lands in your pocket at the end of the transaction. And a lot of agents have said, hey, you don't have to worry about any of that anymore, right? You don't have to make repairs. You don't have to fix up your home. As long as we're somewhat close on the asking price, it's probably going to sell. So my job is so easy now. Well, obviously that has changed over the past several months. Agents now have to either develop or call back skills that they haven't had to use for a very long time because the market it's not red hot anymore. There are still areas, there are still price ranges where we're seeing multiple offers, and it's very tricky to understand unless you have, frankly, a very deep knowledge of our market and of the market in general and why people are doing what they're doing. The third reason was bad timing. And that's a very hard thing to do. Everybody wants to time the market. Everybody wants to buy low, sell high. And you'll have folks that say, you know, we're just waiting for the right time for the property to hit the market. And so when I hear those things from folks, I always ask them, well, when will you know the timing is right? And you'll hear all different kinds of answers when that question is asked. But and a lot of folks will say, well, when prices start to come down, then we'll know that it's time to sell. Well, then you're too late. You've missed it. We usually don't know that we're at the top or the bottom of something until about 6 months afterwards. And part of that is because of the nature of the data in real estate that people rely on. So like as an example, and I'll keep this kind of simple, but I geek out on this kind of stuff because at the end of the day, my ability to read a market, to analyze a trend, and then help somebody through a consultative approach choose a price and a strategy that will ultimately help them sell their home for the most money is a developed skill over time. It's something I've done 1,300 times. So when I sit down with somebody and we start looking at the data to determine, all right, well, what's this house worth right now? Well, first of all, we're going to look at historical data, right? What have other people paid for similar properties like yours over the course of the past few months? And we need to understand the difference between what happened when a home sold, or what was happening in the market at the time that home sold 4 months ago or 5 months ago versus right now, right? We need to make adjustments for changes in the market. We need to bring that house from 5 months ago into today's market so we have a true apples to apples comparison. Obviously, we need to look at condition and upgrades. We need to make specific adjustments for that. We need to look at what's under contract, which is a good indication of, hey, if we price our home at this price based on the fact that somebody else recently made an offer that the seller accepted on that home, this is a general idea of where we should be. And then, of course, we look at our active competition to say, well, who are we going to be competing against? We're not quite there yet, but it was very common when we were in a normal, balanced market for sellers to cut each other out at the knees. You know, price your home just a little bit below your competition so that you're number one on the list. Because if you're number 2, 3, 4, or 5, you're just helping number one on that buyer's list sell faster until you hopefully become number one. But there have been these sellers over time that have, and you see it even now, they've had their home on the market for months or sometimes years, and they're consistently somewhat okay on their price, but they're never the option that is the no-brainer for a buyer. Right? They're always middle of the pack. That's a somewhat dangerous place to be at times in a market where consumer confidence is going down, prices are coming down, closings are coming down. I mean, here are the stats. Here's what's going on in our market. And I guess just to finish that thought, you know, like when I'm pricing a property, we need to take all of that into account. We need to understand how people search for real estate, right? They search in brackets. You know, no one stops their search at $749,999, right? So you see all these properties that are priced for, you know, $449 or $749 or $999. Well, just think about it really quickly. If you have a home and it's worth $500,000 and you price it at $499,000, all those people that are online that are looking for homes, they're going to see your home if their search is between $450,000 and $500,000, but they will not see your home if their search is between $500,000 and $550,000 or $600,000. Price your home at an even number in line with how people search for real estate online. They search in brackets. Land on a number where you get into as many different brackets and increase the number of buyers that are looking at your property as possible. It's a simple trick. We're not selling used cars. We're selling a house. We need to increase the number of people that are looking at our home. You need to hire an agent that can speak intelligently about the home, the market, the reasons why it's a good deal. Sell them on the house, right? The art of sales has been all but lost over the past few years because this market's been so red hot. People haven't had to do it. Well, there are a lot of agents out there that have done this maybe once or twice or a few times that still don't quite know exactly what they're doing yet, or they don't know what they don't know. So that's an opportunity for an experienced listing agent like me to educate the buyer on the area, on the house, on the reasons why this would be a great deal for them, but only if we're really good at asking questions that the agent will answer so that we can extract some information from them to ultimately use in the form of negotiations. I hope I'm making sense right now. Because I just went on a bit of a tangent. I'm supposed to be reading stats here, but it's just so important that you hire somebody that really understands what they're doing right now. This is not a time for you to test the market with somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing. Don't be someone's guinea pig. So I tell you what, before I just start diving deep into these stats, I think it probably makes sense to take a quick break. But I'll say this, if you're thinking about selling your house, I understand that there are different circumstances that lead to your decision to sell a home. Some of you might not care how long it takes. You just want a certain number. Others say, hey, I'm in a time crunch. Here's what I'd like to get. But timing is the most important thing. Frankly, most people fall somewhere in the middle. They say, look, I want a reasonable price for my home. I want to sell it in a reasonable amount of time. Here's why I'm moving. It's all logical. It all makes sense. But that's why we have different plans that you can subscribe to when you're selling your home with us. We've got low commission plans. We have high commission plans. Low commission, lower service, higher commission, higher service. It just depends on what you value and what you're looking for. But I want you to understand that you have choices. And we're happy to go through those with you if you have an interest in selling your home. So feel free to reach out to me and I can provide you with that information, show you what we do to find buyers proactively through our marketing. All you have to do is give us a call or text us. The number is 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. Or go to our website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And finally, you can send me an email if that's easier for you. Brian with the letter I, Brian at brianbeattyteam.com. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back with more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 and each Sunday morning at 10 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.